Over the years, Tudor has gone through many shifts as well as ups and downs. Tudor today is definitely so much different than the Tudor of yesteryears. The prices have crept up and the models in the catalog have consolidated, and what we see here today is Tudor taking plays out of the book of their big brother or sister, Rolex. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you why Tudor today is becoming increasingly more like Rolex and what this means for you and us as collectors. But before we jump into it, guys, if you're a watch trader or you're a watch dealer or you deal in a lot of watches, make sure to go over to my new platform that I launched, which is a wholesale watch marketplace. It's chronograbs.com, where there's wholesale trading and so much more. So whether you're a novice or you're looking to get started in watch dealing or trading, or maybe you're a seasoned trader or dealer, make sure to check out chronograbs.com, soon to be the best place for wholesale trading of watches. Tudor began in 1932 and was founded by Hans Wilsdorf, the founder of Rolex watches as well. And the idea behind Tudor was that it would be a more approachable but still quality watch so that the everyman could purchase it. That was the idea. Things have changed into today, but that was the initial idea of Tudor watches. And all the way up until the 90s, Tudor watches could still be found with some Rolex parts, Rolex case parts, Rolex crown, Rolex bracelets, and you could see this with the coronet emblem on the bracelet, on the crown, and so much more. And what you saw actually was some overlap in the products that they offered. The watches that they offered, Tudor had a Submariner. It's not the Black Bay, it was the Submariner, even though Rolex had a Submariner. So they, even from within inside the family of companies, Rolex or Tudor was offering a more approachable, exact Submariner name picture here. But time went on, and this did kind of work for Tudor, but in 2004, Tudor pulled out of the US market. And as we know, the United States is one of the largest market for watches, and certainly was so in 2004. Watches became more luxury items. They became more status symbols and not so much the utility of, hey, I just want a nice watch. That exists, but the trend is they became increasingly more expensive, especially with things like cell phones, where people really didn't need a watch anymore. And so we saw Tudor just completely out of the US market, still doing business in other countries, but for so long, people wanted them to come back, because who wouldn't want a more approachable Rolex, right? A more approachable Submariner. And so there would still be Tudor watches that would trade. They would come into the US. They would do a little bit of business. But before Tudor pulled out, they had some of the coolest watches in their catalog, in my opinion. They had watches like the Hydronaut, which was a little bit of a different dive watch, a little bit of a different style that you couldn't find really a counterpart in the Rolex catalog. They had the Tudor Tiger chronographs, which they, were trying to kind of buddy up with the golf community, and they made the Tiger Woods, the Tudor Tiger. Before it wasn't the Tudor Tiger, it was just the Tudor chronograph, and they kind of put the Tiger name on it. And there was a transitional period where sometimes it would say Tiger, sometimes it wouldn't. But nonetheless, they had so many cool dial variations and colors in these watches that you could just have so much fun with it. And it was unique, it was interesting, and it was a lot different than what you saw from the Rolex counterparts. But that takes us into 2013, when Tudor enters the US market again by demand in a big way. And this is with two watches at the Basel World 2012 fair. This is going to be the Tudor Pelagos as well as the Tudor Black Bay, two watches that collectors just go crazy for and still exist in different variations and iterations in the Tudor catalog today. And if we think about this, this shows with these two releases, the Pelagos, which is, of course, it's titanium, but it's a more rugged, durable diving sporting watch, as opposed to the Tudor Black Bay, which is still very rugged and durable. But what you see here is almost a Rolex Sea Dweller and a Rolex Submariner in a way, right? Like the Sea Dweller is clearly going to have better specs. It's made to take a heavier beating, a much deeper water resistance in terms of depth rating than the Submariner, but that's what you saw here with the Pelagos as well as the Black Bay. Tudor starting to follow in the footsteps of their big brother and get closer to what we see today, which is Tudor pulling out the plays from the playbook of your Rolex. Now, what we can do here today is look at what are the watches in Tudor's new catalog. We have basically the Black Bay chronograph in blue. They had other colors of it, like the pink and the black and the white version. So they're changing up colors, right? Same watch, different colors. Maybe there's an upgraded bracelet, for an example, like the Black Bay 41 now comes on a Jubilee or a Jubilee-esque bracelet. You've got the Black Bay 58 coming out in gold for $32,000. The Black Bay 58 came out in other metals, but what you see here is Tudor doing what Rolex does, and that is instead of coming out with new flagship models all the time or trying these, interesting different things with brand new watches, like some brands will do almost every year, Tudor is taking their existing models that sell and changing them a little bit, upgrading the class, putting a different bracelet on the watch, changing the color, and it seems to work, right? People went crazy for the pink Tudor chronograph because David Beckham was wearing it. People went crazy for the Black Bay ceramic with the blue dial because it had a blue dial and it was different than the other Black Bay ceramic that's come out in the past. Tudor is doing what Rolex does, and that is taking the model that sells, upgrading it a little bit, and charging you more for it every year. Now, why is Tudor doing this? Well, simply put, Tudor wants to sell watches and they want to make money. It's not going to be cost effective for Tudor to come out with some crazy new thing every year. It's not going to make sense. And even if they wanted to, the reality is they don't have to, so why would they? Sure, they could try to be a little bit newer and edgier, and they could do this. There are some brands that like to come out with these whole new models every year and kind of just see what happens, but Tudor doesn't need to. And we have to remember where they came from and their connection to Rolex. And so why would they deviate from the most winning strategy in luxury watches, which is what Rolex does? Upgrade the watches a little bit every year, different variation, different metal, put it on a rubber strap, change the bracelet. Oh, it's discontinued. We discontinued the Batman. Oh, now it's the Batgirl. It's on a Jubilee. But oh, wait, we're coming out with the Batman again. Go figure. So why would Tudor do anything different than a proven strategy that collectors seem to be going for, seem to be paying for? Why would they do anything different? Now, I don't really think that this is a bad strategy in any way. It could mean that things are going to get a little bit boring for a period of time here, especially because we have a bit of a watch market pullback or slowdown, especially buying new watches from authorized dealers or boutiques. So, and this time, I think it makes a lot of sense for Tudor to do this, but they've shown even through, kind of the peak of the watch craze that they've still done this. Now, they came out with the FXD line, and they came out with some interesting collaborations, don't get me wrong, but the core models and the products that they're offering, they are just updating things. I don't think this is bad, but then again, I don't think that necessarily warrants these, blog posts and videos you see where people are praising Tudor for coming out with a blue version of their chronograph. That takes no work, okay? They go into Photoshop, they replace the color, whatever, with blue. How difficult is that? It's not difficult. And so I don't think it necessarily deserves praise. It could be a great watch and people could love it, but if it's not really different than previous watches, what are we talking about here? Yes, they have a blue dial, they have a pink dial. Anyone could slap a color paint on a dial and change the look and aesthetic. So I don't think it's bad. I think it just kind of is what it is. I think we'll see this going into the future. We'll see more of Tudor doing this, and it could be a good thing, right? I think even myself as collectors, so much craze, so much demand for watches. We were getting hit in the face with all these new articles about all these new models, and it was kind of difficult to really determine, I think, for many of you and us, which watch to put in your collection next. If there's just new models all the time, you have too many options, right? You get into a bit of decision fatigue, and that, there can be some value in having less choices. Go figure. I mean, that's at least personally what I believe. But I think the best way to describe what's happening with Tudor and Rolex here, it's kind of like, now I don't have children, but I imagine, let's say you had a kid And while the kid is a baby, they're probably not going to act a ton like their adult parent, right? A son is not going to act a ton like his father when he's a baby, but slowly but surely he'll pick up mannerisms and he'll see what works, he'll learn, and he'll do those things. And then by the time that that kid becomes an adult, people will start telling him, you know, you're a lot like your dad, you're a lot like your parent. And I think that's what we see here is we have Tudor maturing, solidifying themselves in kind of the more mature, solid brand that they are and have become, but doing what their parent did, which is to iterate and come up with little changes instead of taking big risks. But what do you guys have to say about this? I would love to see it and hear it in the comments below. Please do not forget to thumbs up, like, and subscribe. I appreciate it. And remember, guys, if you trade wholesale watches, make sure to check out chronograbs.com right now. Apply. Maybe you qualify. And if not, go ahead and apply it. And in the future, if we decide to kind of turn on a retail component, you will be the first to know. So make sure to check that out. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time. You've been chatting with John P.